Yo, it's your boy JTG, former WWE superstar, one half of the illest tag team ever, Crime Time. Make sure, everyone else, I want you guys to listen to the Wrestling POV podcast. You guys and girls is killing it, man. Keep doing your thing. Chill.
More talent testing positive for COVID-19. Fox cancels backstage The Undertaker's last ride? Interesting. This week in wrestling and a whole lot more on a brand new edition of Wrestling POV Podcast. Is there anybody there? Nobody's here because it's only me today. Yep, you just got me. Your host, Tony Diaz. Everybody decided to take a day off today. Nah, they just not here today. They'll be here next week. It's freaking crazy again. Still a crazy week. More info going on what's been going on with the allegations of the assault, the sex assault, and sexual assault. And there's a lot more. I'm going to go with it as best as I can. Let's go. You know what? I'm not going to do a Facebook post this week, but I will go straight into the wrestling news from around the world. Normally I would say, take it away, Rick, but you know what? I'm not, because he's not here. So I'm just going to go straight into the wrestling news from around the world. Yeah, backstage, Fox, they canceled the backstage. But I mean, there's also things that I've been hearing about that. They're still gonna keep it on, but they're only gonna do it when WWE has their pay-per-views. So it's almost like right before a football game, I'm assuming, or the playoffs or whatever, like how they do it with that. So they're going to be doing that with just the pay-per-views, I heard. I don't know how much true that is, but I mean, backstage is only averaging I think 200,000 or 300,000 views. I mean, it's not good. It's not good. It looks like they tried everything, and they, like CM Punk, I think was their biggest one. But, to try to, upstage that all the time, not good, man. But either way, I mean, at least it's still on the air, I guess, but we'll see what happens. More people, they're testing positive for the COVID-19. Renee Young, Caleb Braxton got it twice. Adam Pearce is a producer. And that was it. And actually, I just heard this right before I started the show. Jon Moxley, AEW champion, tested positive for the COVID-19. And they got a match, the pay-per-view coming up, which AEW was supposed to tape on July 2nd for the July 8th show. That right now, from what I've been hearing, was that they're going to have, they've both been separated in their house. They're still under the same house, but they're sleeping in separate rooms. They're keeping, their own distance from each other, so to hopefully get over it. They said it lasts about 10 days. For me, that's the first I've heard of it. We'll see what happens. They're saying that if he doesn't show signs of, any symptoms or whatever, that he has a good chance to do the taping for the pay-per-view. If not, I'm curious to see and curious to know where they're going to go with it. What are they going to do? What kind of storyline they're going to go with? Because this past week on AEW, he was supposed to be there, and he wasn't there. So Taz cut another god-awful promo. I don't care what you guys say, but it was god-awful. And, making... trying to shed light on why he wasn't there. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Ligero and Travis Banks also has been released this week. I've heard of more releases being happening. It's unusual to because now I heard, because the one thing that people were saying was that Tessa Blanchard was released, but they're not, from what I read, it wasn't because of her past allegations. It was because she just failed to obligate her contract, which was to go to, she was supposed to do something. I don't know the full details of it. I literally just heard it right before I did the show. And she was supposed to attend a few events, like for tapings and all this other stuff, and she just didn't go. She was a no-show. What was the other one? I think she was in Mexico, I guess. She's been there this whole time. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. They fired her. We'll see where she goes. I was on the episode of Quarantine this past week where we talked mainly about the sexual assaults and the assaults and everything else that's been going on. And it was a good episode. It's something, you know, and not to bring it down to this show because I want you guys to watch the Quarantine show. A lot of different points of views, mainly the same. So enjoy that. It was pretty good to watch. Go check it out. It's only a YouTube exclusive and Facebook exclusive, so go check that out. But anyway, Tessa, during that episode, we had some breaking news then, and that's when the news broke out that Impact fired her. And we were assuming because of that allegation that happened before, but they're saying that no. You know, they're saying it was because she was a no-show at these events and da-da-da, so they stripped her of the title. So, I mean, like I said, we're going to look more into this. I'm going to look more into this and find out exactly what is true. But even then, during the Quarantine episode, of course, you know, while we were filming, you know, I was looking at trying to find comments to see, you know, okay, what was it about? Da, da, da. So, of course, you know, I got angry because I say it every time on the show, is that these guys, the minute somebody gets released, their first solution is, oh, they're going to go AEW. They fit better than AEW. Come on. Jesus. So, which kind of makes sense since her dad is there. So I might let that slide, but I don't see WWE picking her up. I don't know if AEW will either, to be honest. I mean, it is Tully's daughter, but the allegations in the past, I don't know, it might still haunt her. But at the same time, they still left the belt on her too. So we'll find out more. All right, you know what? That's it for the news. Let's see how, man, I'm fast. I'm lightning fast. All right, but there is more to talk about, though, because we're going to go straight on to the rumors. Vince McMahon didn't approve any of Paul Heyman's ideas for how to debut Liv Morgan on Raw until the Lana wedding angle was eventually pitched. Now, you know, I've talked about this with AEW, and I will be fair, I'm going to talk about it with WWE. These guys, you know, what is it with the debuts, man? I mean, we haven't seen Liv Morgan in a while because of Ruby Riott getting hurt. And, you know, so it kind of like diminished the other two, Sarah Logan. I mean, Sarah Logan was doing a lot of main events, so, but Liv Morgan was supposed to be repackaged and all this other stuff, and I was really looking forward to it. To me, they debuted this in the wrong way. I didn't like it. I just did not like how they debuted the new Liv Morgan. She's very talented. Don't get me wrong. She really is. But the way they did, because the angle went nowhere at the Lana wedding when they did that. It went nowhere. They scrapped it out, and then that was it. And then they dropped it. And WWE, they love to insult the people's intelligence, because now with the whole hacker thing, I know I'm jumping all around, but still, the hacker thing now, they're all of a sudden just going to completely drop that. Where obviously, you know, we had our suspicions, but I would have to say 90% of the suspicions, it was because they were saying that Ali is the one behind it. So obviously that was when he was going back to Raw, all of a sudden they dropped it because of that. And I'm like, are you kidding me? You got to be kidding me, man. Come on, man. Oh. Anyway, but that's just a little bit. They've done it before too, where they would try to do a storyline, then they drop it real quick, and then try to act like we're gonna forget about it. I was looking forward to seeing how they were gonna go with this, and seeing if Ali was gonna be a heel or a face. Who knows? It looked like it was gonna be a heel. Anyway, but with Liv Morgan, that they got something there, and they're ruining it by making her lose. She's been losing a lot of matches. Man, it's just not there. They had it for a little bit, and then it's like done. My opinion, Vince needs to just step back. He really does. He needs to retire. He needs to call it quits and let some fresh people. Because it's funny because he says that about everything else. Well, we need, let's try to get new talent. Let's try to do this, new that. And he's like, I'm not in touch with reality. Well, obviously, dude, you're not. You're not. Not everybody likes the same thing that you like. And that's the reason why I like doing this show. Because it's a different point of view from different, people. Former wrestler, super fan, and we got the boys from Canada. We got Ant, and, so it's where we as people can disagree and still get along. That's the biggest problem with the world today. It really is. And the reason why I'm saying that is because with politics, everybody's all of a sudden getting into politics. And if you like a certain Democratic Party or you like a certain politician or whatever, it's a big feud. It's like, I don't know. For me, it's like, I don't give a damn who you like. If we were cool, if we were friends, we're still going to be friends. With wrestling POV, me and Rick argue all the time. But it doesn't mean I want him off the show, or vice versa. There was times where he would agree with me and I would agree with him and disagree, and then later on he would make his statement and I'll be like, you know what? Yeah, you're right. And I'm man enough to do that, and the rest of the crew, they're man enough to do it too. So with Vince, he needs to. I know I went out of sorts, but Vince, he needs to be look in the mirror and say, you know what? I think it's time for me to retire. Let's see what happens here. But he's so worried. Dude, you've been doing this for freaking almost 40 years. It's time to stop. It is. It really is. Because it's the product is not there. And I hate calling wrestling the product. I hate using that word. But it's just not there. You need fresh, like Triple H. I'm sorry, Triple H is doing a great job with NXT. You don't think he'll be able to do the same thing for Raw or SmackDown? Nonetheless, Paul Heyman having the reins to it, or even Eric Bischoff, and look how quickly that faded because your lack of patience. Oh, I'm worried about ratings. Well, come on, man. We need to see fresh faces. I loved back in the day, and we had the one quarantine episode talking about 1992 Royal Rumble. There was a lot of stars there. And how did that happen? How? They weren't pushing the same guys all the time. Probably with an exception of a few. A couple. Ric Flair, probably one of them. Hogan at the time. Macho. But at the same time, there was other talents there that you knew. I'm interested in this. I'm interested in that. You were interested in the whole damn thing. Not just bits and pieces of it. Because you were bored. Or whatever, and that's what's happening now. Vince needs to just retire, dude. Finally. That was one part of my rumor too. All right, now another Vince. He wants to run live television shoots in front of paying fans as early as late July or early August. With all this going on with the COVID-19, and all of a sudden all these people are starting to get testing positive for it. You might want to wait a little bit longer. He's rushing it, but at the same time, what I find funny, and this is what I laugh at this all the time. I think Rick mentioned about should WWE shut it down. It's funny because for me, in my eyes, it looks like they're doing it the right way as far as trying to protect, even though they had all these positive results. They got the plexiglass and all this other stuff, which is fine. I see where they're getting at, the social distancing and the outside. But AEW, nobody's even mentioning about that. Are they making it public that a few people tested positive? Probably not, because they don't want to put themselves out there. But people are getting on WWE, but AEW is doing the same thing. Get on them for that too. Don't just just don't be one-sided about it. Give me a break. But in my opinion, it goes for both AEW and WWE. Just wait. If you have to cancel for a month, I think, honestly, in my opinion, number one, it'll rust up these guys and women, gals and guys. It'll rust them up. Number two, I get it that you want to keep entertaining the people while we're at home, but you got to rest. This is a good opportunity to rest your guys. It's funny because nobody's saying anything about Roman Reigns where he's at the point of, I'm not coming into work, which I don't blame him. And then you got to cut him off certain segments here and there. Give me a break. Come on, man. I was shocked they showed him on SmackDown. I really was. But he's one of their top stars, so he's allowed to do that. But anybody else, hey. I know I'm going off in a little tangent. My bad. But at the same time, I just think that this is a good time for them to take about a month off. Take a month off. Disinfect the whole performance center, top to bottom. Do it for every day for 7 days. That way, it's almost like brand new equipment, brand new ring, brand new entrance, brand new everything. And let these guys rest up. Because I think the fans will be more into wrestling when you're coming back from a month off than you would still trying to put out something just to show. There's a big difference with that. If you're going to do wrestling, obviously, and me watching it all these years and actually, being a former wrestler myself, I'd rather that you do it safe and be entertaining when you come back than just throwing something out there like that, like SmackDown. Of course, I'll go over that later on. Randy Orton, he is campaigning to work with somebody in NXT, which I think is a good deal because of the simple fact that he's switching it up, and that's good. I tell you this, Randy Orton for me is such a better heel than he is a babyface. I like him so much better as a heel. He should be doing this with somebody in NXT. I don't know who. That would be interesting to see. But he is better as a heel. With what happened to Edge on the last pay-per-view, you got to put him in a different storyline. So might as well try to do it with somebody in NXT. So I'm all for that. The Braun Strowman versus Bray Wyatt swamp fight at Extreme Rules will be a cinematic match, which is going to be cool. They're saying that it's going to be something similar to the Undertaker and AJ Styles match, which is going to be pretty cool. Bray Wyatt is really heavily involved in this, in creating it, also with Jeremy Borash and Triple H. They're all going to have a little say in this cinematic match. I think it'll be good. It keeps the Fiend away for a little bit. It keeps that character out of it because they're going with the old school Bray Wyatt, which I think is cool. I see nothing wrong with it. You might disagree and say, well, we want the Fiend. No, keep the Fiend out as long as you can and wait for the live crowd. That's my opinion. This could work. I could see it working, and I'm looking forward to it. Nothing has come about with the Matt Riddle that WWE hasn't known, and I mentioned this before. They've known about it for years. He speculates that the latest allegations won't make a difference in his push based on the company's having prior knowledge, but that is a subject to change, obviously, and which it should. I'm not saying that he's innocent. I'm not saying that he's guilty. I like to see where the evidence is and the facts. Rick is close to this because he knows the person personally, professionally also. So that's what makes this tough for me, is because, I don't want to discredit anybody's allegations at all. But did Matt Riddle do this because he knew it might come back to haunt him? That's a good question to ask. Or Is it for money? Is it for, to try to get their name pushed out there or something? I don't know. I really don't know. I'm not going to discredit anybody's allegations. At the same time, we do gotta, the innocent until proven guilty. I gotta bring back Enzo. I guess Velveteen Dream is now back in the picture, but we'll see what happens with that. Enzo is one of them. It was alleged, and he fought it, and all of a sudden it got squashed. But meanwhile, his reputation got tarnished. He got fired from his job, and he's trying to put out a rap album, which is god awful. But at the same time, I don't know. Is there more details to this? I'm pretty sure there is. But I gotta just throw this out there. If there's allegations out there, like I'll bring back the whole Enzo case, and they gave you hushed money. Would you really take that hush money? Like, seriously, would you really take that hush money? Is it really that? If that's the case, then it's like, no, that you want to push this as far as you can to let people know that they're not going to get away with it. Don't take that hush money. If it is hush money, I'm just saying. I don't know. Nobody knows. But I've heard about, they probably paid him off. Well, why did they take the money? Why? It's I don't know. If somebody can explain it to me, please do. Also, still in related topic, Tony Schiavone initially said that he thinks that Sammy Guevara, his suspension will last 4 weeks. About 20 minutes into the interview later, he found out from somebody from the office, reminded Tony that Guevara's suspension length is indefinite. So who knows how long he's going to be out. Now it's I saw this comment someone posted. It wasn't on our page. I found it somewhere else. You should have posted it on the page. That way we can talk about it. But I'm going to talk about it now. They're saying that they don't think it's right that Sammy Guevara was suspended without pay. I didn't hear about how long his suspension was going to be. But they were saying that he's suspension without pay. He's got to go to sensitivity classes. He did publicly apologize to Sasha Banks for what he did. Was it immaturity on his end? Yeah, very much so. But at the same time, I'm sorry to say, me as a parent, I would never teach my kids to say something as heinous as that, number one. I would let them know, you can't just say that, dude. What the hell? No. But either way, it's neither here or there in this case as with Sammy. But what people were I don't want to say complaining, but they were saying, like, wait a minute, he just said something while Jimmy Havoc actually did something. And he's still and this could be false, I don't know. But they're saying that he's still getting paid. They sent him to rehab and for an undisclosed amount of time. Why is that fair? Why'd they do that for Jimmy Havoc and not for Sammy Guevara? Shouldn't he still get paid and all this other stuff? So my question goes out to all you guys. Which one is fair? Which one was fair? The fact that Sammy Guevara is suspended without pay and he has to go through all this stuff, where Jimmy Havoc actually assaulted somebody. And got sent to rehab. Is that really fair? I don't know. To me, but that's the other question. Where does the punishment fit the crime? Sammy Guevara's words, what he chose to use as words, was it really that much of a harsher crime than what Jimmy Havoc did? And that's a lot of people out there are questioning that, and they're saying, why is this happening? Why did he get a harsher punishment than Jimmy Havoc? And this is all under the AEW umbrella too, so it's not like from two different companies. So this is going to be, I think, a topic that I want to discuss further and see what everybody else thinks. But that's it. That's all I got for the rumors. Injury. Charlotte Flair is going to undergo surgery, and they're saying that she's going to be back by SummerSlam, but then it got turned around and they're saying that she probably won't be back for SummerSlam. So we'll see where that goes. All right, it is time for the hot tag news of the week. The Undertaker's Last Ride documentary ends with him seemingly retiring. If this is indeed the Phenom's last ride, what about his illustrious career, made an impact on you? For me, before I read these comments, for me, he was always scary. He was always unpredictable. As time went on, I will say this, and this is where a lot of wrestlers out there could learn from, is that as time went on with The Undertaker, he always rejuvenated himself, changing up the look a little bit. Because if you see, he has different names of The Undertaker: the American Badass Undertaker, the Ministry Undertaker. It was so cool to watch the progress of The Undertaker, but we also saw the demise of The Undertaker in his matches. He was getting old. It was like he was getting tired. He could barely get up. He was at the point to where he was wrestling once a year, and everybody would always say, they talk about his entrance, but that it takes him 5 minutes to get into the ring. But that was part of his character. He was always like that. But at the same time, you got to see it as time went on, he was always rejuvenating himself. The look was changing. He went from the purple and black and the little makeup underneath the eyes to make him look dead, but it looked like two black eyes, to the longer hair, and he dyed it black and wearing the hat, the leather coat, changing up his ring attire. I've always said this, that your attire, your gimmick was always everything. If you were a heel, you need to be in dark colors because that distinguishes you as a heel. If you were a baby face, you wear those light colors or vibrant colors or flamboyant colors to show that you were a baby face, And with The Undertaker, it was different. Even when he was a heel, he was still being treated as a baby face. Even when he was a baby face, he was still treated as a heel because he was still scared of what he would do. It's just amazing how, I haven't watched The Last Ride yet, and I will this week, and we'll probably talk more about it soon. But just it amazes me how his whole entire career was rest in peace, or he would have that dark voice, the deep voice, and then you listen to him talk, he was a good old Texas boy. So, but my memory of The Undertaker, for me, the one that always stuck out was just the match that he had with Mick Foley, the infamous Hell in a Cell match. I don't think that'll ever get topped. I don't think it'll ever get done with all the restrictions now and no hits to the head, no blows to the head, and all this other stuff that's been going on. I don't ever see it happening. I really don't, unless it's somewhere in the indie scene. Sean Nixon, he said the longevity of it, the fact that, I just said that. The fact that you don't really hear stories about him being difficult or selfish. He was tough, but always wanted the next group of guys and even the peers in his own locker room to be great, accountable, respectful, and respectable. He also went on and said he wanted and asked to work guys like Lesnar, Shane, Jeff Hardy, Roman Reigns, and AJ Styles. So, and you know what? He has every right to. As long as he's been in the business, he can pick and choose on who he wants to wrestle. But he wanted to throw a show. He wanted to entertain people. He wanted to entertain the fans, which is, every wrestler should be like that. Dalton Riley, he said, every single moment he is truly the greatest wrestler of all time. And I wouldn't argue that. Some people might, I don't know. But he's up there. He is definitely up there. Shannon Bill said, he was always a spectacle. As a child, I watched and cheered and marveled in his entrance and presence, but it wouldn't be until the early mid-2000s that you saw him in his wrestling prime. Guys like Edge, HBK, Lesnar, the SmackDown run was absolute gold that I feel most people overlook, and that was the American Badass gimmick that he did. I think it took away from the whole Undertaker gimmick. I think it really did. But it was still cool because it was a different side of the Undertaker that we saw. He never got rid of the name. He was still the Undertaker. He was just the American badass Undertaker. Clay Cummins, he said the best character WWE has ever had. A guy non-wrestling fans would know, which is true. When you say or think WWE, you think of the Dead Man. He had a huge impact on my love for pro wrestling. One of the guys that I saw in the main event on TV as a kid. Sad to see him retire, but it really was time for him to go. And like he did against AJ, really was awesome. Thank you, Taker. Josh Sanders, he said the Undertaker is the GOAT. The character was generally him through the darkest of the dark times. The Undertaker was a badass that we cheered for him to take the souls and make his enemies rest in peace. He also went on to say the Undertaker threw a tape ball away and swished it and said, "Kobe, that was the best part of the documentary." I didn't know that. I gotta watch it. I do gotta watch it. It's just, I got a lot going on right now. So, but that just goes to show the character of the Undertaker. Okay, he was the locker room leader too. He was. I guess they called him the judge because when there would be some altercations or whatever in the locker room, he was the last person. He was the last person that everybody would do their complaints to. It was really a good run for the Undertaker. I don't think it's over, and I'll explain why later on This Week in Wrestling. Right now, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, just like I said, we got This Week in Wrestling.
What's going on? This is your NXT Cruiserweight Champion, Lio Rush. Make sure you listen to the Wrestling POV podcast. You guys absolutely rock. You're incredible. From the man of the hour, Lio Rush.
Hi, I'm WWE superstar Charlotte Flair, also known as the Queen, and listen to Wrestling POV podcast and always do it with Flair. Woo!
All right, we are back, and let's go straight into This Week in Wrestling. I know I was supposed to do the whole, what's that called again? The pro wrestling tease, but that's not my part. Rick does that part, so don't yell at me. But let's go straight into This Week in Wrestling with Raw notes. The highest point for me of Raw was Street Profits versus the Viking Raiders. The Viking. Now, the reason why I gave this a 3.5. The reason why I gave it a 3.5 is because the attack by Garza and Andrade. It was a good segment. For me, that was a really good segment because now Garza and Andrade looks like they're going to be a tag team for the tag team gold against the Street Profits, and I'm really looking forward to that. Maybe the Viking Raiders can take some time off because we mentioned earlier on the show, or a different episode, about the fact that they kind of humanized the Viking Raiders. They were a badass group, and then all of a sudden they're turned into a comedy skit. So hopefully that'll happen. I don't know if it will, but we'll see. Another 3 I gave was the Asuka versus Charlotte. I thought that was a good match. I liked where the storyline went, but then of course it was a way to send Charlotte off to get her surgery, but that was the second highest. The lowest I had was Akira Tozawa versus R-Truth. Match didn't really start because of Lashley. Well, where are they going with this? I gave it a 1. It was terrible. You had Lashley in the title picture, and oh hi, and all of a sudden you got him doing this with R-Truth. Don't make him 24/7 champion. I'm gonna tell you that right now. That'll be stupid. Another low, and I'm high on Liv Morgan, but the match she had with Natalya, I gave that a 1 too. A side note, and which is going in the book this week, is Dolph's Something About Mary's Hightail is going in the book. I'm sorry, what the hell was you doing, Dolph? That was ridiculous, but what happens? He gets put right into the title picture. Unbelievable. But I did hear that that we're going to pair Dolph with Sonya Deville to help her with promos and everything else. And when they looked at it, and Sonya has been knocking it out the park, I give her that much. That's when they decided to say, you know what, Dolph, just go to Raw. She's good. So that was pretty cool. There was a lot of things that happened during Raw. Raw was pretty productive for the most part, but I gave it a 1.95 this week. Wasn't really the greatest. There was, like I said, the Street Profits was Viking Raiders, and then the attack by Garza and Andrade. That, I thought that was, I like that. I like it because it was starting a whole new storyline, which is very well should have been. Let's go to NXT POV. The highest point for me in NXT, it was Santos Escobar versus Jake Atlas. I gave that a 3. I'm really impressed with this Santos Escobar character and the faction that he's forming. Some people don't agree with it, I heard. They're saying, oh, it's too much like cartelish and da-da-da. No, that, when not Andrade, who's the other one that was with Paige? You guys know who I'm talking about. When he did it, El Patron, him. When he did it, that was kind of similar to, in my opinion, that was kind of similar to like cartelish type stuff. Alberto Del Rio, that's who it is. So don't give me that shit. So this here is done a little bit differently. They're wearing the suits and they're taking, and I like it. I like this a lot. I gave it a 3. Another match I gave a 3 was Bronson Reed versus Karrion Kross. They got something with Karrion. Like I said, he's 6'4", and he doesn't look 6'4", but he was treating Bronson Reed like a rag doll. Loved this match. I also gave it a 3. Just the whole vibe of it was there, man, and I enjoyed every bit of it. The lowest point of NXT was Casey Catanzaro and Kaden Carter, and I'm a huge fan of Kaden Carter. I hated doing this. Versus Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez. The right people won. I'm not going to lie. The right people did win, Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez, because they really got to show. And I heard Raquel was a basketball player in high school, too. I think she's 5'8", 5'9", maybe taller. I don't know. But they got to put her in the right storyline, too, and protect her, too, because she's a big girl. But I gave the match a 1.5. I wasn't really into it. But like I said, I know it sounds asinine, but the right people did win. Another low point for me was Roderick Strong versus Dexter Lumis. I gave it a 1.5. Just wasn't invested in it. The one thing I will say, because there was a few 1.5s on this show. But the one thing I will say is the Cameron Grimes versus Damian Priest, and Cameron Grimes winning, they're slowly destroying Damian Priest. They got something there with Damian Priest, and you cannot have him lose to somebody like Cameron Grimes. He was growing on me, I ain't gonna lie, Cameron Grimes was, but against Damian Priest, really? No. If this was like a feud, I can understand, and having it not Damian lose right away, but have it all the way go to the pay-per-view where Cameron Grimes would have the upper hand on Damian Priest all the time. Then on the pay-per-view, then that's when Damian would win. But you had him lose on TV? And I get it, they've shown the injury, and that's why he lost. Oh, come on, no. Anyway, I did give NXT a 2.14. Still wasn't a bad show. AEW, Dynamite. Yeah, I said it. I said it. A couple of high points for me was Wardlow versus Luchasaurus. I gave it a 2.5. I thought that was a good match, considering with everything going around there. It was good. I thought it was good. A second 2.5 was SCU versus FTR. Bunch of letters in that bitch. I gave it a 2.5. I did enjoy the match. The lowest point for me, and I know I've been on him, and I'm still going to continue to get on him, was the Cody press conference with Jake Hager, whatever they are calling him. Now, as a side note, so they do a press conference with Cody, so he's making himself bigger than the title. The reason why I say that is because it does seem that way. He's going out every week saying that I'm going to defend this everywhere. And then what cracks me up is that during the press conference, he comes out and says, the title isn't finished, but I love it still. This is the incomplete. Like, he's still trying to justify that horrendous title. Give me a break. Cody, that's what you wanted. Admit it. Okay, don't come out and be like, oh no, this is the way it was supposed to be. No, fuck that. Get out of here with that bullshit. You're wrong. Anyway, that was my rant. That was my quick rant. And then, of course, the replacement for Sammy Guevara against Matt Hardy, it was Santana. And it wasn't a bad match. I mean, AEW wasn't that bad, but my records, I have it at a 1.63. So the Wednesday Night Delight, it was NXT versus AEW. NXT is up 23 to AEW's 11. The global guys, they all voted AEW, so it don't even matter what I say. Even if Rick was on the show, it still wouldn't matter if we both picked NXT. I thought for the most part, honestly, they were almost tied. In the ratings, though, NXT did beat AEW this week. I got to remind myself, but I will start announcing the ratings between the two, and then probably all 4 shows I might do it for. Because I always complain about it anyway. People saying that AEW is great and da-da-da, and I always say, when they start beating Raw, SmackDown, then okay, but they like back and forth with NXT. So what does that tell you? So AEW wins it this week. So now they got their 12th win this year against NXT with 23. Let's go into the SmackDown breakdown. Oh my God, SmackDown, and I heard conflicting stories that they because if you notice, the AJ Styles versus Drew Gulak didn't happen. That was because of the whole everybody testing positive. Not everybody, but a few people testing positive for the COVID-19. So I don't know whose call that was, but then all of a sudden they decided to do an Undertaker tribute throughout this whole SmackDown. The first segment, I gave it a 0.5 because I'm like, okay, you guys wasted damn near an hour. I think it was like 40 minutes of this. This could have been shown on freaking Fox. Instead, they did it. It was on Fox, but I'm talking about Fox Sports. But instead, you did it. Oh my God, I don't know. But that was the lowest point. The highest point for me, it was Jeff Hardy versus Baron Corbin. I really enjoyed this match. As much as we get on Jeff Hardy, he is talented. He still is talented. Like, you can tell he's still hurt. But even with Corbin, we've been saying this for a while with Corbin, which is that they got to give the guy some wins. You guys are trying to have him as a super heel, but he's been losing just about every damn match that he has. Come on, man. Y'all can't be doing that. If you're trying to make him a serious character, don't have him lose all these matches. I wouldn't have not been mad if he would have beaten Jeff Hardy in this. I really wouldn't. As a side note, too, I have is that all this talk that Corbin was doing about The Undertaker, poking fun at him and all this other stuff, does that really mean that The Undertaker is not retired, that he is going to come back in some kind of capacity? Because you got to think about it. We said this earlier, during WrestleMania. The cinematic match that he had with AJ Styles just extended The Undertaker's career about another 5 or 10 years. Because that's all he can do. That's all he can do. Nobody's going to know the difference. Nobody. So could this be a way for Undertaker to have longevity in wrestling? Because according to Rick, and I didn't even know this, is that the reason why was because the divorce, why the ex-wife almost took all his money. So he needed money. But who knows? Who knows? He might be officially retired. He could pull a Brett Favre. Who knows? But a side note, too, Nikki Cross. And Rick's not a fan of Nikki Cross, but I am. But to fight Bayley at Extreme Rules pay-per-view, I think this will be pretty interesting. I think it will be pretty cool. I'm looking forward to it. And it's good for her. Good for her. I thought Lacey was going to win it, and I think they did that on purpose. But it was a good it wasn't a bad SmackDown, but it wasn't a great SmackDown either. The first 45 minutes or 40 minutes of SmackDown was a big waste. It was a big waste. Overall, I gave SmackDown a 1.75. So just barely under Raw. So speaking of, which is the battle between NXT, Raw, and SmackDown. Right now we have Raw up 7 to NXT's 3 and to SmackDown's 1. Last year when we did this, it's a full year, and SmackDown only had 7 wins. That's not a good, no, that's not good. And they're starting off slow. This week, they're not winning it for me. This week, I'm going to go with NXT with the win, and Raw at second, and SmackDown on third. So they're up now 8. Raw's still up 7 to NXT's 4, and SmackDown was still 1. So, you know what? I think it's time for the book. So basically what I do, y'all ready for this? Basically what I do is that I say we put the most ridiculous, You know what? I'm going to start all over. Can I start all over, please? Would y'all forgive me on this one? Sure. Okay. I love you guys. All right. So now basically what we do is we put the most ridiculous things that happen in the week of wrestling, and we put it in the book just to get a good laugh, haha, and just crack up, because there is a lot of things that happen. And we are a type of comedy show that we point these things out, and it is funny. So with that being said, I'm going to be calling the shots on this bad boy. Sam Roberts' Go Fuck Yourself stays. Kofi's Goldilocks stays. Garza's Cousin Speedo stays. Liv Morgan's Cage Wedgie stays. Coronavirus still stays because it's fucking everybody up. Fidel Cody, I want to keep it in there because it's hilarious. Jeff Hardy's 1 gallon dehydrated piss jar stays. You know, that's a long thing to say, but it's hilarious, so it stays. Sammy Guevara's Something About Mary Hair. Now, if you can hear me erasing it, it's because I'm taking it off the book, because in light of what happened, I really don't want to mention him. I don't, until we see and hear progress, so to speak. And by me saying that, I'm meaning that there's more that he's got to do, in my opinion, to show his sincerity, to show that he is apologetic, to show that he means what he says. So that's why I'm taking it out. Even though he did do the right thing by apologizing, and, you know, they're sending him to a sensitivity class and all this other stuff, maybe that'll, you know, give him a little kick in the ass to be like, hey, you can't be doing this stuff. So, you know, change it up. Kenny Omega's shorts, it stays. MVP's older bro suit, that'll stay. Mandy's acting, that's going to stay. And the new entrant into the book, Doll Something About Mary's Hightail. You guys see what I did there? I took one off just to add the other. That's how I roll in the Shire. Anyway, that is it for the book. No guesses today, but I am going to play a song from my playlist. Of course, I have over 1 trillion songs on my phone. We had a quarantine episode where after the show, I actually had to show all the guys on quarantine that I did actually have all songs, and I just kept scrolling because I have all these wrestling songs out there, and it's just the way that we right off into the sunset until next week, where we'll give you guys more content on wrestling and what's happening. Check us out on our Facebook page. If you have any questions or comments, put them on there. We'll talk about it on the show. So I'm just going to play a song. That's it. You can guess what it is. It's going to be random, so I won't even know. I mean, I'm going to see it, so that's why I'm not going to play along, but that's just how we're going to ride off to the sunset until next week. With that being said, I am your host, Tony Diaz, rocking it by myself this week. Love, peace, and wrestling. We'll see y'all next week. Peace out. We'll talk to you later. Have a safe week, okay?